We got a new project that we're going to be starting up today. We've got a 2013 X6M, and we've got a locked up engine. The engine is seized. Most likely it's a spun bearing, can't rotate it. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and remove this engine, and then we're going to take it apart, inspect it. We're going to see if it's a candidate for a rebuild. And if it is, then we'll go through the rebuilding process. So right now, part one, or initially, is we're trying to get the engine out. And the plan is to try to get this engine out as a whole assembly down from the bottom. So we're going to drop the whole subframe, suspension, with the axle. All I've got to do is to disconnect the dry shaft in the back, and dry shaft and transmission mount in the back, and then support the engine in the front here and support it in the back, and loosen up the engine cradle on the bottom that holds the whole engine, the lower subframe, along with the strut towers right here and over here, and of course the steering shaft. Disconnect the steering shaft from the column, and then drop it down, and also, you know, disconnect our main wiring and harness over here. Plan is to drop it down from the bottom and roll it out the front here. So first thing what I need to do is to figure out how to get to the steering shaft, and I can't even see it. I know it's down there somewhere. I mean, look how tight that space is, and no access here, and you definitely can't see it from the bottom. So that's the first thing. I'm going to try to get that off, or I may just disconnect the exhaust system from the downpipes and get that out of the way. Disconnect the dry shaft, disconnect the steering shaft, and then try to see if I can drop this down slowly and see if I'll be able to get it down. I can see why labor is going to be so expensive when you do labor work on these. Okay, so let's get to it. So there's accessibility for the steering shaft. You guys can see that there, right down there. So you can see the steering shaft. That's, see, I can point to it right there. There's the bolt right there. So what I had to do to get access to that bolt, unbolt this, disconnect the fuel line, which is right here, and then disconnect or unclip the hoses from right here and lift that out of the way, and that gave me access to the steering shaft bolt. I'm gonna lose that off and try to disconnect that from there, so then the lower half of the steering shaft will come out with the rack and pinion. I'll give you guys some more information here. So on this side here, I removed the heater valve with the hoses that was connected right here, just to be able to clear, so when the engine goes down, it's not gonna hit the valve. And as you can see, there's the steering shaft that's gonna slide out. Also removed the power steering reservoir and the coolant reservoir from here, and you guys can see from this side you got accessibility for the hose on this side here. Got the engine hooked up on the two lifting hooks on the engine, got supported by my overhead hoist. So I'm just going to support the engine, and it's going to support it. When I drop the lower frame, I'll drop it down slowly. I got the transmission supported by a jack. Now wanted to show you guys this here. All these hydraulic lines, I had to disconnect them. These are behind the fender liner in the back underneath. So you're gonna have to remove the covering underneath and remove the fender liner and get those disconnected, because all those, I believe these are gonna come down with the frame. So now all I've got to do is to drop the frame and drop it down. So let's go ahead and do that. So we went ahead and dropped the entire exhaust assembly down. Wasn't that hard actually. 4 bolts in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4 rubber hangers. And then your band clamps in the front here. Then took all of the under paneling and the heat shield off to get access to the dry shaft assembly. Just disconnected. We just went ahead and disconnected from the transfer case. Now we're trying to take off a lot of the connections on top. Got the wire harness out. Disconnected the wire harness, got that hung over the engine. Now also disconnected the AC line here that's connected to the compressor, which is right here, so hung that off right to the side. I noticed the in the back here, gotta go ahead and disconnect this brake booster vacuum line in the back here. So right there, steering shaft disconnected, bolts out, which is got, as we drop the engine, that'll slide out. Got a coolant line right here, so we'll continue to disassemble this, and we're just gonna have to start to drop it down. We are almost ready to drop this whole engine with transmission drivetrain down. As you can see, I went ahead and removed the strut, the whole hub assembly from the front with the control arms. I could have dropped it with all that in place, but this car is going to be scrapped, so really it's just easier while it's up there for me to take all that stuff out. So did that on this side, and also did it on this side here. You guys could see, but I left the strut in. Don't forget, on the left side on the frame, right up here, you've got a ground strap that you got to remove. Got it situated underneath there. We got the hook up here, so we're gonna go ahead and start to drop this down slowly and see if we've got any pieces hanging up, hoses, wiring. Well, there you have it. Complete drivetrain assembly on the floor. So we got the subframe assembly off, the lower subframe assembly. You guys can see that. That's all. So I've got the transmission, I've got the engine blocked up on 3 jack stands. We're gonna go ahead and remove the forward dry shaft. If I need to take off the front differential, I'll go ahead and do that. I don't think I may need to. And then I'm gonna go ahead and block up the engine. Alright, so we got the engine supported. On the front, we've got it blocked up underneath the oil pan. The back, we've got a supported jack stand on the rear engine mount. And on this side, we got it supported on the differential. Got the dry shaft out. We've got the transmission hooked up on the sling. Now what we're going to do is just loosen those bolts and try to slide the transmission back while the engine stays in place. Alright, we got it off. That was painless. You could do this with an overhead hoist, or you could do it with a cherry picker. Just got to make sure your engine's blocked up pretty good, it's stable, it's solid. Transmission's off. We'll get the transmission out of the way. What I'm noticing is this is a really tight, compacted engine. I just removed the shields from the back here. And absolutely, if you have to replace catalytic converters, engine's definitely got to come out. Look at where the vacuum pump is at. Remember on the E53 X5s, they're in the front. This is in the back here now. So you've got all your vacuum lines set up. I'm going to go ahead and remove the vacuum lines on the back here. I need to get underneath the shield to remove the catalytic converter. Okay. Alright, so we're back here today. New day. We've got the exhaust shield off that covers the catalytic converter. We've got catalytic converter here. We've got the catalytic converter here. We'll go ahead and remove the catalytic converters. Then we'll go ahead and remove both turbos. As you can see here, we've got the turbos. I've removed all of the coolant lines, all supply lines. So after we remove the turbo, we'll go ahead and remove the alternator. We'll remove our vacuum system, all our hoses. Go ahead and remove our power steering pump. Then we're going to get this onto a engine stand. Remove the flex plate and we'll go from there. Alright, I'm trying to get the turbos off. I've already gone ahead and take off a lot of the coolant lines. Right, left coolant line, oil supply line. Here we still got this other coolant line over here, but I was going to take that off once I lifted the turbo off. You can see it right there. But the oil drain line, you guys could see it right there. It's connected to the bottom and it's below the shield. It runs below the shield right here, and the shield is connected here, here, and underneath the turbo. Alright, so I got one side turbo off, but I went ahead and loosened the oil line from the under section, which was pretty hard. You can see there it's pretty inaccessible. It's hard to get to unless you loosen this up and you pull it up. And you can probably do that to get it off, but when you go back together, it's really not ideal. So what I've noticed here is that you can see here, right down there, right there, they've got the oil line, the screw to remove the oil line fastener that secures the oil line to both turbo. You got this one on this side here, and you have the other one right there. So You can get a Allen key, or you can get a very skinny torque socket and get down there and loosen that out. So that's the ideal way to get that out, and then the oil line comes out with the turbo all together, and when you go back together, you just put it back in there and secure it. So we got the turbos off, trying to get the shield off. One thing I wanted to show you guys here was that this connection that connects to the two head right here, the coolant hose, the Y connection piece is plastic, and you've got so much heat going through these turbos here. I don't believe why they would do that plastic. There should have been a metal Y section right here. When I just moved it, it just cracked. So just think about that next time you guys go in here and you work here. Get a custom Y piece here, metal, stainless steel. Do not go back and put back the plastic. I know BMW is going to sell you the whole entire hose. Disconnect it, put a metal piece inside there.